Hello, this is Jill from Paper Daisy Crafting. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have you had a good day? I hope so. This is our card for today. We need to say welcome to my beginner series. This is number 13, unlucky for some, I think. This is number 13 of our series, and it's another project today. I do have some more information, beginner videos to video, but today I thought I'd do another project for you, following on from last week where we did a little bit of masking. So today we're going to combine masking with sponging. So we're going to mask out this top section here, we're going to mask out the moon, and then we're going to sponge over so that you can see how those masks work to give you this effect. I love this. This is from the Winter Woods stamp set, which I bought late last season. It was in last year's catalogue. But I love these trees. I haven't used the others yet, but I love this series of trees. And I love this sentiment, and I thought it was particularly appropriate for this year because this year I've got a lot of cards to send to people who haven't had a great year, and I don't think it's going to be a very merry Christmas for them unless things turn around very quickly. I've got people like my daughter who was going to get married and hasn't got married and hasn't got a job and struggling financially. My son has also lost his job and hasn't got a job. He's not in a good place. I've got friends who've lost relations to COVID, all sorts of reasons. So I think thinking of you this season just says it better than Merry Christmas for people who haven't had a great year and might not feel very much like celebrating at Christmas. So anyway, let's have a look at how we make this card. So we're going to start off with a card blank of Pacific Point. It measures 29 by 10.5, so it's just about half a sheet of A4, scored roughly in the middle. I've scored it at 14.5 centimetres and then just trimmed a tiny bit off, so it measures 10.5 by 14.5, and then my panel of white that's going to mount on it measures half a centimetre smaller, so it measures 10 by 14. So we're just going to get a little border of the Pacific Point around there. So what we're going to do first of all, I'm going to bring in a spare piece of a slightly used piece of grid paper. So this is going to get very messy, this technique. My fingers will end up blue, you'll see. And first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to mask. Oh, I thought I'd got my masking stuff out. This is my Post-it tape that I used last week. I use it all the time. I love it. It's very, very low tack. And I want this to go right at the top of my card because it's going to protect that upper portion of my card and leave it very white. And then I'm going to, before I use my other mask, which I made with my 1.5 inch circle punch, and all you need to do is take a post-it note, although you'll find you might need 2 or 3 post-it notes, so otherwise the paper bends and it won't punch properly. So if you try and punch 3 sheets, it will punch out nicely. So you just pop that, and you want the sticky bit, the circle, to be mostly the sticky bit, so you need to, that end, and just punch, and that punches out beautifully like that. So that's my mask. We don't need that quite yet, so I'm just going to stamp my trees. I'm just going to bring one of my sample cards in so I can see where I stamped. Okay. I think I did use a bit of masking at the bottom there as well when I made these. I've just remembered I did do a bit of masking, so I sort of gauged where the trees would be, and I didn't want quite all of them, so I just put a bit of masking there so that it cut off the trunks just a little bit. There we go. And then I'm going to come in with Memento. Now, I did try a version of this card with stays on. I don't use stays on very much because I don't like the fact that it stains your stamps. But I did use one with stays on, but it actually didn't make the trees much blacker, so I reverted back to Memento, which is a lot less messy to work with. You do just need, it's quite a big stamp, so you do need to make sure you ink all over. You possibly need to make sure your Memento ink pad is a bit more inky than mine. Mine's quite dry now. So there's my trees. I'm going to stamp it off to this side, and so that the tops are just at the top of my card, and there'll be a bit of the trunks showing, hopefully. There we go. There we are. They're my trees. And now I'm going to use my mask. So I'm going to come in with my Post-it note mask. You only need 1 layer of this, So if you've cut 3, you want to make lots of these cards, you'll have lots of masks. And it's just going to mask out part of that tree and part of the sky. Now, the colours that I'm going to use to sponge with are Misty Moonlight, Pacific Point and Seaside Spray. So on this card, this is Pacific Point, Misty Moonlight and Seaside Spray. I did do some variations. I think here I used Balmy Blue, Seaside Spray and Pacific Point. And this one I think I just used Pacific Point and Balmy Blue. I'm going to use all 3 today. I'm going to do the darker colour at the top. I'm going to start with the lightest one, the Seaside Spray, towards the bottom. So I don't want it to be all over the trunks of the trees. I want it to be a bit, so I'm just going to move, actually I'm going to move my bit of masking up a little bit. Just going to move that up a bit. And I'm going to try and make it straight, otherwise I'll have a wonky skyline. There we go. And then I'm just going to move my moon up a little bit as well. So just make sure you've got your things positioned where you want them, like so. And then the sponges I'm using, these are our Stampin' Up sponges. Now they come in a circle. Try and put them together. So if you can imagine, I haven't got any whole ones to show you because I've cut all mine apart. And then when I've used them, I just rinse them. So they do stain, but there's no colour coming off because they're just stained. So I just cut them up into either, that's 1/4 of a sponge and these are 1/8 of sponges. So I just cut them up into little pieces so that you've got lots of choices. So taking your Seaside Spray, stamp it in the ink, and then you might want to just try it on your grid paper. That's why I said it gets very messy. And then just come in and go across your card. So ink, stamp off a little bit, and you want to use these kind of circular motions to get a nice distribution of ink. But it does look a little bit patchy sometimes, but I think that adds to the effect. I quite like that. We do have sponge daubers as well, which you could use for this effect, I think, but I quite like sponges. Right, and I think that's probably enough of Seaside Spray. But you can see where my moon is, so I'm going to pop the Seaside Spray away. I'm going to leave the sponge on top of it so that if I want to come back to it, I've still got it. I'm now going to come in with Pacific Point. Just make sure your mask doesn't lift when you're doing this. You might just need to hold it down at this section that's not sticky. You will have a section of it that's not sticky. You can see I've already got it all over my hands, look. Right, and then so take that off and then come in. You can always put more ink on. You can't take more ink off, so just err on the side of caution to start with. Around my mask. Beautiful. There we go. And then you get a gradient of colours going up your card. There we go, and then we're going to pop that one away. And then we're just going to come in with Misty Moonlight as well. If you've not got Misty Moonlight, you could try Night of Navy, but that's quite a dark blue, so you need to be very careful with it, otherwise you'll end up not being able to see your tree silhouettes. And this time you can go over your mask at the top there, and that's going to give us a really nice straight line when we remove that, hopefully. If it's worked properly. Hold your mask down as you ink around there. So I'm quite pleased. Oh, you can see I didn't stamp that one off. Didn't stamp that one off, and it went a bit dark. It's fine though. Right. Now I'm going to leave it there. You can obviously, if you want to play around with yours a little bit more, you can. But basically, that's the technique. So let's take that off. Look how I love how the white looks against the messy blue. I'm going to get rid of that piece of paper, and then I'm going to take off the moon. And look how gorgeous that looks as well. The white just shines through so beautifully. And then lastly, let's just take off this bottom bit. There we are. Excellent. Right, and then all that's left to do is we've got to stamp on the, get rid of that messy piece of grid paper. Got to stamp on the the bottom here with the message, and I'm going to do that in, I'm just cleaning my hands with the white I happen to have handy, otherwise I'm going to get blue stains all over my card. Just dry them on a tissue. Right, I've got my thinking of you this season sentiment, which I'm going to ink up with Memento and then just stamp there. Lovely. And then all that's left to do is to glue this to my panel. And that's it. So this would be a very, very quick Christmas. I know the stamping takes a little time, but once you're set up and got your sponges ready, you could just whiz through these. And I think they're very lovely Christmas cards. I'm not often one for one layer stamping, but actually I think this is quite effective and I do quite like it. So I've now got 4 of these made, which is great because that's 4 to go in my Christmas stash. I'm gradually building up. I've been making cards quite early on this year, so hopefully I won't be running round like the alleged blue-eyed fly when Christmas comes. And of course I've actually also got some Christmas cards that I made left over from last year because my dad died so close to Christmas. I didn't get around to sending half the cards that I should have last year, so I've still got those left to send as well, so I'll be all right, I think. Right, there we are. Let's bring them all in. So all slight variations in colours, but basically the same design. Have to say, I forgot to say this at the beginning, this was an idea for a card on Pinterest, and I can't remember whose it was, but if it was you or you know who it was, I'll be glad to give a credit if somebody lets me know. But yeah, I think that's really nice, and I hope you do too. Nice snowy scene with a beautiful moon in the background. So I hope you like that. Thank you for joining me for my beginner series. I'll be back again next Tuesday with another episode of our series. I know a lot of you have been enjoying watching it, and some of you have started your own paper crafting hobby, buying things from my shop, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm always grateful for my customers. And yes, I will be back soon. If I can help with anything at all, if you are a beginner and you've got any questions, please get in touch. I'm always happy to help. Don't forget, if you're on a budget, have a look at my 2-for-1 sale. You might be able to snap up a bargain. All the things are priced in there, but you buy one and you buy 2 things and the cheapest one of the pair will be free. So that's a good way to save money and pick up a bargain. Anyway, that's it from me today. Have a good day and I will see you again soon. Bye.